The silence in my apartment was a tangible thing I'd built, piece by piece, over 6 months. It was different from the silence in their house. Theirs was heavy, expectant, a vacuum waiting to be filled with my shortcomings. Mine was light. It held the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sigh of traffic, and nothing else. I brought the unmarked box to their anniversary dinner because I wanted to believe, one last time, in the language of gestures. The gift wasn't wrapped. It was just a plain archival-grade storage box, the kind you use for things that matter. I placed it on the sideboard, a silent guest at the table. Dinner was its own ritual. My mother talked about the neighbors' landscaping. My stepdad discussed the market. We spoke in circles, carefully avoiding the crater that was my life, my decision to leave a stable, miserable job, the 8 months of savings I'd lived on while I built something of my own, the quiet freelance work they considered unemployed. The box sat there, a mute question. It was over coffee that my mother's eyes finally drifted to it, not with curiosity, but with a faint, weary annoyance, as if I'd tracked mud on the carpet. "What's that, dear?" "Your gift," I said. She didn't reach for it. She took a slow sip of her coffee, her gaze moving from the box to me. "You shouldn't have." It wasn't gratitude, it was a correction. "It's your 30th. It's important." My stepdad chuckled, a dry sound. "Important is a relative term. You'd know more about that if you had real responsibilities." The old heat rose in my throat. I swallowed it. "Just open it." My mother sighed, the long-suffering exhalation I knew so well. She nudged the box with a manicured finger, pushing it an inch further away on the sideboard. "Later, maybe. It's not really the time for games. Honestly, seeing you here, still floating along, it makes it hard to celebrate. It feels like we're enabling you." The words were so practiced, so familiar. "Enabling what?" My voice was quieter than I intended. "This fantasy," she said, her tone softening into something worse than anger. "Pity. The freeloader phase has to end sometime. You can't live off dreams and our goodwill forever." My stepdad nodded, a united front. "We love you, but love means being honest. You're not a child. We don't need another trinket from you. We need you to grow up." He looked at the box with open disdain. "We don't need your cheap gift. Take it and get out. Go get a real job. Then we'll talk." Something in me fractured then, not with a crash, but with a quiet, final snap. The last thread of hope, taut for so many years, simply gave way. And what came out wasn't a sob or a shout. It was a laugh, a single surprised puff of air that was utterly, terrifyingly genuine. They stared, offended by the sound. "Oh, it's not a trinket," I said, wiping a non-existent tear from the corner of my eye, the laugh still echoing in my voice. "And it's definitely not cheap." I stood, my chair scraping softly. I felt calm, clear. "It's the originals. Every letter, every card, every drawing I ever gave you to. The one I made for your wedding, Mom. The Father's Day poem from 4th grade. The anniversary card from last year where I wrote how much I looked up to you both. All the cheap gifts you ever stored in that trunk in the attic." Their faces went blank, then slowly began to rearrange, confusion first, then a dawning, sick comprehension. "I had them professionally restored and archivally framed," I continued, gathering my coat. My voice was like glass. "It was going to be a gift, a record. But you're right, you don't need it. I'm taking my cheap sentiment and getting out. I'll keep the record myself." The walk to the door was the longest and shortest of my life. I heard a choked sputter behind me, my mother's "Wait!" but I didn't. The night air was cool. I placed the box on the passenger seat of my car and drove home to my quiet apartment. The calls began before I'd even crossed the town line. My mother first, her voice frantic, scrambling over itself. "Honey, you misunderstood. We didn't mean those things are precious to us." My stepdad, an hour later, trying for stern authority but landing on strained panic. "You can't just take family property. Those are memories. You're being emotional." Then the texts. "Please, let's talk. We want to see them. What will people think?" I never blocked the number. I let the phone buzz on the counter, a persistent, dying insect. Each vibration was a tiny, cold affirmation. They weren't calling about me, they were calling about the evidence of my love, which they had suddenly realized had a tangible, removable form. A week later, a registered letter arrived from a law firm, a polite, formal inquiry regarding the return of sentimental family documents. I didn't open it. I placed it, unopened, on the sideboard in my silent apartment. I made a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the afternoon light fade on the buildings across the street. The leverage I held was quiet. It demanded nothing of me. It simply sat there, a box full of my own heart, finally in my own custody. And for the first time, the peace I felt wasn't a fragile, hopeful thing. It was solid, it was mine, and it required absolutely nothing from them at all.